Salvador stepped into the small bookstore in need of a gift for his niece. But the moment he saw her, he forgot why he had come. Fiery hair neatly pulled back into a bun at the nape of her neck, a strict dark blue dress. Her facial features weren't perfect, a slightly upturned nose, a slightly short upper lip, but her eyes. Salvador could have gazed into those big green eyes for eternity. Those eyes seemed to hold some secret known only to their owner, and the black long eyelashes cast a light shadow on her unremarkable cheekbones. "How can I help you?" the beauty smiled. My niece. I need a really good book for a 5-year-old girl," Salvador finally managed to say. "Does your little one like fairies, or is she more of a warrior girl into dragons?" the girl beamed. It felt like she was doing something very important in her life right now, even something sacred, as if she was on a mission given to her from above. "Well, I'm not sure, to be honest," the guy replied. "Then perhaps something about animals would be better? Does the girl like animals?" "She has a hamster," Salvador smiled. "Oh, perfect. We recently got books from a young modern author, not very well known yet, but the texts are quite pleasant. They're about pets' diaries. You know, kind and humorous. Would you like to have a look?" "Yes, I'll trust you," Salvador said. "There are such colorful pictures," the green-eyed beauty said, positioning a small ladder next to the shelf. She effortlessly climbed it and fetched the book. Salvador couldn't help but admire the girl, her slimness, her grace. Nature had definitely been generous with her figure. "Pictures are good," the young man said thoughtfully, not taking his eyes off the redhead witch. She seemed to enchant him, mesmerize him with some unearthly power. What was it? Love at first sight? Enchantment? Salvador couldn't answer that question. He just wanted to be with this girl, to look at her, to talk to her, and nothing else mattered to him right now. "Would you leave me your number so I can consult you later? In case I want another book." "Yes, of course, feel free to reach out whenever you need." The girl quickly scribbled something on a pristine white sheet torn from the notebook lying on the counter. She handed it to Salvador. Their fingers touched for a moment. But that moment was enough for him to feel the tenderness of the green-eyed beauty's skin. Shivers ran down his spine. "Thank you," he said shortly and left the store, holding a colorful book under his arm. Raquel Sands. Bookstore, read the inscription on the piece of paper. "Raquel," Salvador murmured, tucking the paper into his trouser pocket as he walked. "The girl of my dreams." Salvador couldn't sleep for a long time that night. He kept thinking about Raquel, this red-haired beauty with skin as tender as a jasmine petal. How he wished to shower kisses on those hands with pale pink nails. How he longed to embrace the girl and never let her go. If Salvador were an artist, he could have drawn Raquel down to the smallest detail. It's funny how you can meet someone every day and not remember the color of their eyes, but here he saw her in passing and remembered every line forever. Salvador was walking along the seashore. A gentle breeze tousled his hair, giving him a sense of freshness and unexplainable joy. She stood with her back to him. A mass of red hair covered her entire back from view, while a long white skirt flowed gracefully around her slender legs. In that moment, Salvador couldn't help but envy the wind. It shamelessly caressed those slender legs, playing with the chiffon skirt. "Raquel," he shouted. "I'm coming to you." He quickened his pace towards the beauty. The girl slowly turned around. He was prepared for her green eyes, witch-like eyes, but they were completely different eyes, a different girl. She held a jasmine twig in her hands. Its scent tickled Salvador's nostrils. Warmth filled his soul, his heart fluttered with inexplicable longing, so sweetly it sent shivers down his spine. "Hi," greeted the other girl, pushing back a strand of hair that the mischievous wind had thrown across her face. Her voice was pleasant, like the murmuring of a forest spring, but it wasn't Raquel's voice that drove Salvador crazy. "But where's Raquel?" the young man asked. "I don't know," the girl shrugged and vanished into thin air. Salvador woke up. He felt like he still tasted the salty air on his lips. Strange dream, he thought. He never paid much attention to his dreams, but this one just wouldn't leave his mind. Salvador never mustered the courage to call or write to Raquel, but enduring this longing was unbearable. So, he went straight to the bookstore. This time, she was in a snowy white shirt and strict dark cherry trousers. The shop was absolutely empty. Paper books weren't everyone's cup of tea nowadays. "Do you need any help?" Raquel smiled. "Yes, I do, very much," Salvador exhaled. "Whose book do you need this time?" The girl adjusted a delicate chain around her slender neck. "Mine. But this time, I don't need a book. You've stolen my heart. Don't let me perish, give me a walk or dinner. I'll be free today at 7. Raquel said without hesitation, her dark lashes hiding the enchantment of her eyes. "I'll be here at 1:45. A smile lit up Salvador's face. He felt like the happiest person on earth. The beauty with fiery hair and eyes that looked into his soul, captivating his mind and heart, agreed to have dinner with him. Their relationship progressed rapidly. Just a month after that dinner that flowed into breakfast, Raquel had already moved in with Salvador. The bachelor's apartment was filled with a fresh breath. Butterflies appeared on the curtains, cute little things that Raquel arranged in various corners. Salvador worshipped his beauty. He found himself thinking he was ready to grow old with her. He felt good even when Raquel sat beside him, flipping through a magazine, winding a lock of hair around her slender index finger. Raquel didn't talk much about herself or her family. Salvador only understood that her parents lived in some village. She had come to the capital 3 months ago and rented a room from an old lady. Salvador worked as a programmer in a small company. His creativity and unconventional approach to tasks were appreciated by the management. Sometimes he didn't need to go to the office, he could work from home. Salvador found it hard to tolerate restrictions and boundaries. He was more inclined towards the life of a free artist. Sometimes he even thought about moving to a small town by the sea, surrounded by green trees. When these thoughts came to Salvador, he somehow remembered a dream about an empty beach and a girl with a sprig of jasmine in her hands. He dismissed these thoughts because he had Raquel, the best girl in the world. Now he no longer envied the playful breeze that lifted her skirt in that unusual dream. But still, Salvador sometimes had to obey the will of his superiors. Once he was sent on a business trip. At that time, they had already been living together for 3 months. "I'll miss you," murmured Raquel, seeing Salvador off. "I'll be back in just 4 days, my fiery fairy." "You're still an incorrigible romantic," the girl chuckled softly and kissed his cheek. "Call me when you arrive and settle in." "I will," Salvador said, tilting his head slightly, and they melted into a lingering kiss. For days seemed endless because his beauty, capable of captivating him with just a glance and bending to any of her desires, wasn't there. "I'll propose to her as soon as I get home," Salvador decided, choosing a ring in the jewelry store. But it had to be done in an unusual way. Raquel was absolutely right. He was a romantic to the core. He had always been like that. His mother would rejoice when Salvador picked little twigs and flowers growing on the playground for her. "Your wife will be the happiest in the world," she would say and kiss her son on the forehead. It's a pity his parents didn't live to see the moment when their son would marry the best girl on this planet. Tasks were completed, the ring was bought, he could go home to his beloved, who was surely eagerly awaiting his return. Salvador finished his work a little earlier, so he changed his ticket to an earlier flight. He decided not to tell Raquel anything. Let it be a surprise for her. Yes, at that moment, he couldn't even think what surprise awaited, not Raquel, but himself. Salvador quietly opened the door and entered the apartment. Silence. Normally Raquel would instantly rush to the hallway to greet him. Could she be at work? No, today was supposed to be her day off. Maybe she went to the store? Salvador decided to hide and prepare a surprise for her. The closet. Exactly. The perfect hiding spot. He would wait for Raquel there, then jump out with a balloon tied to a ring, drop to one knee, just like in the good old movies, and propose to her. He also hid his suitcase and shoes so Raquel wouldn't suspect his presence right away. 10 minutes passed. Salvador was getting bored of waiting in the closet, but the surprise was worth it. Finally, the key turned in the lock. Raquel entered, placing something directly on the floor, probably a bag of groceries. Suddenly, her phone rang. "Hello," she answered. "Yes, I'm already home." Silence. "All right. But I have to be back by 5. Salvador will return around 6. He shouldn't know I went anywhere. Why invite unnecessary trouble?" Again, silence. "Yes, Senora Arias, of course, the entire pregnancy will be under your control. I'm following all your demands, tests, examinations, everything, as you say. So far, everything is going well. The doctor says I'm made for motherhood. Everything is excellent for both me and the future child." Salvador held his breath. What was she talking about? Who was his beloved girlfriend talking to? Pregnancy? Raquel is expecting a child? His child. Salvador is a wonderful young man. He's in good health, smart, kind, takes care of himself, so your baby will be born healthy and beautiful. Shall we meet at the cafe? All right, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Raquel, apparently, kicked off her shoes, headed to the kitchen for some reason, maybe to put away groceries, put her shoes back on, and left the apartment, carefully locking it behind her. Salvador emerged from his hiding spot. The balloon shot up to the ceiling, slipping from his hand, the ring helplessly hung in the air. He was utterly stunned. From bits of Raquel's conversation with someone named Senora Arias, he understood that his girlfriend was pregnant, that's 1, that she plans to give her future child to her, 2, and that this child is his, 3. Could Raquel, his tender green-eyed beauty, be capable of such a thing? No, there must be some mistake. Salvador's gaze fell on the shelf near the mirror. There lay a business card. A phone number, a familiar name, Mia Arias, judge. Salvador turned the card in his hands. There was something handwritten on the back. I'm the mother of the boy, your brother is free. If you give me a daughter, I'll pay extra. Enough for modest housing in any town near the capital, the guy read. What was Raquel up to? A judge. Brother's freedom. She plans to buy her brother's freedom by giving birth to a child for the judge. It sounded like a detective movie, but not reality. Wasn't there any other way? Why is Raquel's brother, about whom she, by the way, hasn't told him anything, behind bars? Salvador was thrown from heat to cold. He clenched the business card tightly in his fist, then snapped out of it, grabbed his phone, took a photo of it, and put it back in its place. Salvador walked into the living room, slumped into the armchair, and covered his face with his hands. The girl, his beloved little witch, was simply using him as a donor. She just needed a child from him. What was her plan next? Just to leave everything behind and go? None of this made sense to him. How could he give away his own child, even for his brother's freedom? Had she planned it all in advance? Was she choosing a suitable partner from whom to conceive a healthy child with good genes? Salvador jumped up from the chair, returned to the hallway, where the ring still hung on the ribbon of the heart-shaped balloon. He grabbed the ribbon as if it could save him from all the horror he had just experienced, yanked the ring off, shoved it into his pocket, and let the balloon go back up to the ceiling. The proposal of hand and heart for today is canceled. Salvador moved to the kitchen, poured a glass of water, and drank it in one gulp. He wanted something stronger, but Salvador decided that his head had to remain absolutely clear when he and Raquel met. He simply sat at the table, resting his forehead on his clasped hands, and pondered. Thoughts swirled in his head. What to do? Should he tell Raquel that he knows everything, or keep silent and wait, searching for a more suitable moment? Salvador sat like that for probably an hour. The key turned in the lock again, and she entered. Her yellow dress with black polka dots hugged her slender waist. She didn't look pregnant at all. Her tight fiery braid was thrown over her shoulder, her face slightly flushed from quick walking. For a moment, Salvador forgot about what he had heard, hiding in the closet as if nothing had happened. There she was, his beauty Raquel, with whom he was ready to raise children and grow old. "Hey, darling, you're already home?" Raquel was surprised, quickly kicking off her sandals and grabbing the business card from the shelf and slipping it into her purse in passing. "I was waiting for you at 6. I wanted to prepare a celebratory dinner." "Hey," Salvador simply said. "Is everything okay?" "Yes, why do you ask?" The girl fluttered into the kitchen, landed on his knees, and began to kiss him. It was impossible to resist this kiss. It completely deprived him of will, of reason. "Raquel," Salvador began, when the girl slightly pulled away and looked at him as if nothing else mattered to her except him. How could she play like this, deceive his feelings like that? It's unbelievable that this is actually happening to him. "What's new?" "Oh, nothing, though I have one piece of news for you," the girl mysteriously smiled. "What is it?" Salvador asked, trying to suppress the tremor in his voice and in his whole body. "We're pregnant," Raquel simply said. "We're having a baby." Salvador silently stared at her, unable to say a word. What was he supposed to say? "Darling, what are you going to do afterward? How will you hand over our child to the judge? Why did you choose me as the father of the child?" What could he say? "Aren't you happy?" The smile vanished from Raquel's lips. No, darling, I'm, of course, happy. It's just so unexpected. But we haven't even had a chance to get married yet." "Nonsense. We'll get married later," Raquel replied and stood up from Salvador's knees. "You know, once some gypsy fortune teller told me, she said I shouldn't get married until after the baby is born. If I marry after, everything will be fine with the baby. You probably think I'm a superstitious fool, don't you?" "No," Salvador replied, suppressing a sigh. "She's such a liar. She just doesn't need this marriage. Clearly, she wants to escape from him even before the baby is born. Are you upset about something?" "No, just tired from the road. I'll go lie down." "You go, and I'll start cooking. Let's celebrate your arrival and the fact that soon we'll be parents." Raquel tied on an apron and started taking the necessary ingredients from the fridge. Salvador couldn't fall asleep, he couldn't even lie still. How could she smile, talk about love, and kiss him while harboring such a deceitful plan, simply to give away a child who would spend 9 months in her womb? Did she have no heart, or was this all a game to her? The care, the affection, the tenderness Raquel showered on Salvador, making him feel like he was on cloud 9, were they all just a facade? Life went on as usual. There was nothing unusual or suspicious in Raquel's behavior. Salvador even began to think he had been mistaken, that he hadn't understood what the girl was talking about when he stood in the closet. But the business card and the note on its back. Salvador carefully kept a photo of that very business card on his phone. It could be evidence. He firmly decided that he would not let Raquel go through with this dreadful deal, not at the cost of his child's life. He would raise his little one himself. Now, the main thing was not to arouse suspicion, not to let Raquel know that he was aware of her dark dealings. One evening, as Salvador stepped out of the elevator, he noticed a girl struggling to open her lock. He had never seen her before. She was a simple girl with extraordinary looks. For a moment, it seemed to Salvador that he had seen this stranger somewhere before, but he couldn't remember where. "Excuse me," she suddenly addressed Salvador, "could you help me with this stubborn lock? I just can't get used to it. I moved into this apartment a week ago, but..." "Let's try to tame this trickster." The guy smiled and carefully inserted the key into the lock, then jiggled it in different directions. Click. The lock snapped open. The door was unlocked. "You're just a real locksmith." The girl laughed, extending her hand. Blanca Morales." "Nice to meet you," he replied, shaking her slender hand. Salvador. Salvador Castro. Her gray-blue eyes radiated kindness. For some reason, these eyes reminded Salvador of his mother's eyes, the same open, slightly childish gaze. There was a feeling that these eyes were waiting for something, or perhaps they saw things others couldn't. "See you," said Blanca. "See you." Salvador smiled again and walked towards his apartment. Salvador felt like he had known Blanca for 1,000 years. Where did that come from? Was he going crazy, seeing strange, suspicious, or inexplicable things all the time? Sometimes you spend years with someone, but spiritual closeness never comes, no matter how hard you try. And then you meet another person, and you want to share your most intimate secrets with them. "I'm just tired. I've wound myself up with everything. I just have no one to share this pain and suffering that I have to endure," thought Salvador, opening the door to his apartment. It's been 3 months since Salvador learned the terrible secret Raquel had been hiding. The worst part was that he still loved her, even as he looked at her slightly rounded belly. He dreamed of holding their baby in his arms. Would he have to fight for the right to be a father, to wrest the child from the mother's grasp, a mother who seemed ready to simply hand the baby over to another woman in exchange for her brother's freedom, no matter what crime he had committed? Sometimes Raquel would disappear somewhere, saying she was visiting a friend. But Salvador was sure she was meeting Mia Arias. He searched for something in Raquel's things, something that could shed light on her life, her connection with this judge who was willing to pay a hefty sum in addition to Raquel's brother's freedom if a girl was born. Why such a convoluted way to become a mother? Couldn't she just adopt a child? What was the purpose of this dreadful game she had initiated? He found nothing at all. Only the logo of a clinic. Raquel had told Salvador she was registered at the one nearby. But that wasn't true. It was a completely different clinic, far away from here. Now Salvador understood why Raquel never wanted him to accompany her. He hadn't even been present for the ultrasound. "I don't want to involve you in these motherly matters," she would say, embracing Salvador. The guy didn't argue, afraid to scare Raquel away. One mustn't cast shadows. Let her think he was just a happy father-to-be eagerly awaiting the baby's arrival. "We're having a daughter," Raquel joyfully announced during dinner. "I want a daughter so much. I'll be able to dress her up, do her hair beautifully. Yeah. And grab some cash that'll be enough for a decent apartment," Salvador bitterly thought. "I don't care who we have," he replied to her. "I'll love the baby, whether it's a boy or a girl. You'll be a wonderful father, Borja. Your daughter will be proud of you." Salvador was silent. He couldn't understand how someone could lie so shamelessly, looking him straight in the eyes. The talented actress within Raquel had died. But this concerned a child, their own child. Maybe she had agreed out of desperation. Maybe she would reconsider and break off this deal? Once, Salvador was at a business meeting in a cafe. His boss left, and he stayed for another cup of coffee. The door of the nearly empty cafe opened, and in walked a girl in jeans and a shirt with small flowers. It was Blanca. Their eyes met. Salvador gestured for her to join him at his table. "Hey," she greeted, settling into a chair. "It's scorching hot today. Can I get you a refreshing drink?" "I'll have a non-alcoholic mojito, please," Blanca smiled. Salvador ordered coffee and a mojito. The cafe was cozy, and being with Blanca felt calm and very comfortable, as if he had met an old school friend with whom he had shared a desk since first grade. "Are you going to be a father soon?" Blanca tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. "I saw that your wife is expecting a baby. She's very beautiful." "Thank you, Blanca. Actually, Raquel and I are not married yet, and we probably won't be." "Why not?" "Sorry if I'm prying." "No, it's fine." "Blanca, can you keep secrets?" Salvador suddenly asked. Are you going to tell me you have 10 young beauties hidden in your apartment?" Her eyes radiated some unearthly light, not witch-like, just very sincere and kind. "Yes, I can." You know, I'm just about to explode from my thoughts, with no one to share them with. Go on, Blanca said, lowering her voice slightly, looking serious. Raquel, my girlfriend, wants to give our child away in exchange for her brother's freedom, who is currently behind bars. What? The girl's eyes widened. And you, don't mind? Mind? How could I not? I found out about it by accident, overheard a conversation with this judge who wants to be the mother of my baby. Long story, but the fact remains. Why don't you just talk to Raquel directly? It's impossible, she might disappear. Then I won't be able to fight for my child, and I really want to make it happen. Which clinic is your girlfriend attending? Blanca asked, taking out a notepad from her bag. Again, the notepad. Salvador flinched. Here. The only thing I could find in her papers, he handed her the phone with a photo of the clinic's logo. Wow. This is an expensive clinic. You could say, for the elite. Yes, I read about it. Surely the judge is interested in everything being top-notch. That's why she's willing to pay crazy money for Raquel's pregnancy. Do you want me to try and find out something? I'm just a pediatrician in a regular clinic, but still. You'll do me a big favor if you find out anything. I have no idea what to do, how not to lose my child. I'll never forgive myself if anything happens to them. You'll be a great father, Blanca said softly and patted his hand. I'll help, I'll do everything I can. If the birth mother is willing to just give her child to a stranger, even for her brother's sake, let this child grow up with a loving father. Salvador looked into Blanca's eyes. Tears were lurking there, refusing to roll down her lashes onto her cheeks. He felt relieved. He had found a friend ready to help and support him in a difficult moment. It was very valuable, especially when you have no one to turn to, when you're consumed by fear for the life of your unborn daughter. Who would have thought that such a person would become his neighbor, who had recently moved to this city, to this house, and precisely this apartment? Life is indeed incredible and amazing. It was Saturday. That day, Raquel went to her little shop. Salvador suggested she leave work and take care of herself and the baby, but she refused. It's not hard work for me, she said. I'll sit at home soon when our daughter is born, but for now, I'll work as much as I can. As you wish, was all Salvador could reply, his insides churning from the girl's words. She spoke so truthfully, so naturally, not even raising an eyebrow. You had to be able to pretend like that. In the past, Salvador could sleep until 10 in the morning, but for several months now, these tense months, he had been waking up very early, as if afraid that Raquel might disappear at any moment, taking with her their future daughter, whom he would never be able to find again. One can fancy oneself a hero, but if a person has good connections, and Judge Arias clearly had them, then it is extremely difficult to prove anything and achieve justice. After seeing Raquel off, Salvador headed to the kitchen, poured himself some coffee, and indulged in his thoughts. That's how he was. He contemplated when things were very good, and he contemplated when things were very bad. Why does the Lord send me this trial? Why did Raquel choose me specifically? How long has she been involved with this judge? What did her brother do? How did he break the law? Questions swirled in Salvador's mind, buzzing and jostling, yet the answers just wouldn't come. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. A message from Blanca. Hi. Come over. I have some news and ideas. It wasn't Blanca, it was some detective in a white coat. Salvador felt a slight warmth in his heart. He caught himself thinking that when he talked to this kind, sensitive girl, he felt better, lighter, happier. Blanca was the complete opposite of Raquel. She didn't flirt, didn't try to play a role, didn't bat her eyelashes dramatically. She was just herself. She could laugh, get angry when talking about some negligent parent of her little patient, smile while looking straight into one's eyes, without averting them slightly to the side like Raquel did. Hi. Salvador greeted when Blanca opened the door and let him into her small apartment. He had never been to Blanca's place before. The first thing he noticed was a very pleasant smell enveloping everything around. Such a delicate, unobtrusive aroma that made him feel unexpectedly good. "What's that smell?" Salvador inquired. "It's jasmine," replied Blanca. "I adore the scent of jasmine. I make sachets from dried flowers and scatter them around the apartment." "Tea?" "Yes, please," Salvador said, recalling the dream about Raquel, who suddenly turned into another girl holding a jasmine branch. "A jasmine branch. Here's what I managed to find out," the girl began, pouring tea. "Raquel's brother, Pablo Sanz, committed a serious crime. He killed his girlfriend out of jealousy. There are no witnesses, but his guilt has been proven by the investigation. Furthermore, Pablo Sanz, and thus Raquel, come from a small village, quite far from the capital, and their parents are simple, poor people." "Blanca, how did you dig all this up?" Salvador asked in amazement. "My uncle works in the police." "Don't worry, I didn't tell him anything about the child and the judge." "And what about the clinic?" Salvador took a sip of his tea. "I only managed to find out that Raquel has an agreement with this clinic specifically, meaning the birth will take place there. The judge's name is also mentioned there, but just among the patients. She underwent a long treatment, but it was unsuccessful. They diagnosed her with infertility." "And Raquel? Is everything registered under her name?" "Yes, all payments are made in her name. Apparently, Senora Arias decided to stay out of it. Oh, and one more thing. The expected due date is September 9th. "What's that?" Salvador widened his eyes. "The preliminary date of delivery," the girl smiled. "We need to keep our finger on the pulse. There's not much time left." "You're right. But what if she decides to leave? Just disappears from my life?" "No, she won't do that. She can't raise suspicion. On the contrary, right now it's important for her that you remain relaxed and simply wait for the moment when you become a happy father. She'll wait until the last moment. You need to spend more time with Raquel, especially in the 3 weeks leading up to the due date. Of course, things could start earlier. My sister's son was born 2 weeks before his due date." "I understand." Salvador rubbed his chin. "Thank you, Blanca. You're an incredible girl." "Oh, come on, you'll thank me when the little one is in your arms. We'll have to fight for that, but we'll manage. I believe we'll manage together." Blanca's use of "we" sounded so encouraging. There was such strong energy emanating from this slender young woman that Salvador understood they would definitely make it, just as she said. "You know, Blanca, I have this feeling that we've known each other for 100 years, Salvador smiled. "Imagine, I have the same feeling. Maybe we met in a past life." The girl leaned back in her chair. "Your husband is lucky. You're very good, really. It's hard to find someone like you." "Yeah, but for some reason, some prefer girls without principles, without unnecessary complications." "Yeah, you've been deeply hurt." Salvador seemed to say to himself. "I caught those two right at her place," Blanca said bitterly. Salvador was silent, watching the girl closely. "And I believed in her, my friend Eva. We've been friends since first grade. She cried on my shoulder when her boyfriend left her again, and I comforted her, offered help. Then I met Marcio. I thought I would be happy with him, even though my mom said he wasn't right for me. But how do you prove anything to a love-struck fool? And one day I went to Eva's, and he was leaving the shower at that moment. I silently left, crossed them both out of my life, and left my seaside town for the capital. But the pain still hasn't gone away." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Come here," Salvador said gently, taking her hand. The girl got up from the chair, and he hugged her, stroking her trembling back. "He lost a real emerald, and she, the best friend in the world," Salvador almost whispered. Blanca sobbed, sometimes transitioning to quiet crying. The pain she had held inside for so long finally poured out. It was getting easier, as if the bag of rocks you carry on your back suddenly became lighter, and the stones in it gradually turned into feathers. Thank you, Salvador, Blanca said, slightly pulling away. It's so easy with you. Your future wife is really lucky, you know. Don't forget to invite me to the wedding. The girl smiled slightly and wiped the remaining tears from her face. They sat a little longer, and then Salvador returned to his own place. He had such a pleasant feeling after the conversation with Blanca, like the aftertaste of a good wine, aged in the cellar according to all the rules and norms. Raquel, on the other hand, could be compared more to sparkling wine, great fun, intoxicating quickly, and then a wild headache. Such different wines, such different girls. Summer was coming to an end. Raquel spent almost all her time at home, only occasionally going out to visit a friend or to the clinic for another examination. Salvador had completely switched to remote work, having reached an agreement with his superiors. He was valued in the company, so they made concessions. Only occasionally did he briefly go to the office to discuss something with the management or for some other matters. Raquel became somewhat withdrawn. She spent more and more time glued to her phone screen. Salvador didn't know what she was up to, nor did he try to find out. He simply tried, as Blanca advised, to spend more time with Raquel so that she wouldn't just disappear one day. Raquel's performance was starting to suffer. She no longer showed the care she had for Salvador in the first months of their life together. The reason wasn't pregnancy, it was something else. Perhaps she was worried about her brother, about the outcome of her deal. Salvador didn't ask about anything, he simply kept an eye on the deceiver and worked in between, sitting at his computer desk. Sometimes he met with Blanca in a cafe to discuss something or just to chat. They had become very close lately, good friends. They say that friendship between a man and a woman is impossible, but as long as they were young, they could argue otherwise. Be on guard, said Blanca, as they sat down at the table in the cafe once again. Any of her trips now are a call to action. Yeah, I got it. I'll probably have to go after her. Just hope nothing goes wrong. Nothing will go wrong. If it does, just call me right away. I'll think of something. My vacation starts in a few days anyway. I'll mostly be at home. I was planning to visit my parents in mid-September, take a break in my hometown. At first, I didn't even want to go back there because, well, you remember. Salvador nodded and smiled faintly at the girl. And then, after talking to you, I realized they're not worth me hiding from them. It's my native nest, and I'll come there whenever I want. Well done, Blanquita. Salvador raised a thumb up. You know, you remind me of my dad. He always praises me, even for little things. It's so uplifting. No one believed I would get into medical school, but he believed and said I would be the best pediatrician in the world. I'm not the best doctor on earth, of course, but I've achieved a lot, and they appreciate me at the clinic, and the patients, or rather, their parents, speak highly of me. I'll also praise my daughter for every little thing. Let her grow up as wonderful as you. Salvador took Blanca's hand. A sweet warmth spread through his body, bordering on ecstasy. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. You'll be a great father, I'm sure of it. Blanca, why do I feel happy when I talk to you? What kind of charm do you possess? Oh, stop it. What charm? I'm just telling the truth, that's all. I want strawberry ice cream. Blanca suddenly said. Let's order some. And I'll have mine with chocolate sprinkles. You know, for some reason, when I chat with you, even if it's serious topics, I always crave strawberry ice cream. Blanca adjusted the strap of her snowy white sundress on her shoulder. You're incredible, Blanca. You're, how to put it, in your own vibe, aren't you? I love people like that. They value and love only what they value and love themselves. In my opinion, that's very cool. You can't drag them into any rotten business. Salvador immediately remembered Raquel. She seemed like a decent person, cheerful, caring girl, but capable of giving birth to a child and simply trading him for her brother's freedom, who, incidentally, committed a terrible crime and, as he understood, tried to hide it from the police, at least didn't confess. That morning, Raquel got up very early. Salvador didn't miss this moment. He got up right after her. "Darling, why aren't you sleeping?" Her voice sounded gentle, but there were hints of some worry in it. "Are you feeling unwell?" Salvador was concerned. "You look pale and very tired." No, everything's fine." The girl put her hand on her already large belly. "I wanted to go see a friend today. Then, after the baby is born, we'll hardly ever see each other." Salvador felt that this trip was likely the last one from this house. The girl no longer planned to be part of his life. It was literally hanging in the air, difficult to explain, but the guy was sure that was how it was. "Let me drive you," he offered. "No, Burro, there's no need. Why would you bother going to the other end of the city? I'll call a taxi." "Let me call one for you." "I can handle calling a taxi myself." Raquel started to get a little nervous. All right, Salvador raised his hands. He went to the bedroom and quickly dialed Blanca's number. "She's going somewhere. I think she's feeling unwell." Planning to call a taxi, Salvador quickly spoke. "I understand, I'm on it," the girl replied. "Stay home. Don't reveal yourself, stay calm. Everything will be fine." Salvador returned to the living room, where Raquel, dressed in a soft lilac pantsuit, was stuffing something into her purse. She glanced at her phone screen. "I have to go, see you tonight, Burro." Raquel quickly pecked the guy on the cheek and went to put on her shoes. "Take care," Salvador said, his voice betraying a tremor, his hands as cold as ice. Raquel left the house. Strangely, there was no taxi. She surveyed the yard. A sharp pain shot through her lower back, darkness creeping into her vision from the pain. The clinic wasn't very far, but the taxi. Raquel nervously tapped on her phone screen. She was almost in tears. "Is something wrong, miss?" asked a young woman with chestnut hair, opening the car door. "Taxi," she replied irritably. For some reason, it was abruptly canceled. "I really need to get to the clinic. Labor is starting." "Get in, I'll take you," the stranger smiled. "Well, it feels awkward." "It's more awkward to give birth right here." "Get in." Raquel complied and quickly settled into the back seat. "Here, this will help you relax a bit." The woman at the wheel handed her a small bottle, something like an herbal inhaler. Raquel took a few deep breaths and zoned out. "Got it," Blanca said, quickly sending a voice message to Salvador, mentioning the address of the clinic she was taking Raquel to. Raquel came to when she was already being wheeled into the delivery room. "Where am I?" the girl asked, clutching her stomach and writhing in pain. "You're in the maternity ward. Calm down. Right now, you need to focus on yourself and your baby," said the nurse who was pushing the stretcher down the corridor. "Wait here," she instructed Blanca. Blanca nodded, sat in a chair, and waited for Salvador. Salvador entered the room. Raquel looked tired but still very beautiful. Next to the bed was a baby crib, in which the little girl peacefully slept. "Raquel, listen to me," the guy began without greeting. "If you don't want to go to jail with your brother, then please do as I say." She looked at him with wide eyes. There was some disappointment and pain on her face. "What do you want from me?" she asked, not even trying to justify herself. "You give the child to me, and you continue your own life, free. No one will know anything." Raquel covered her face with her hands. "Oh God, I've been trying to save Pablo from prison for so long. I've been through so much, and now everything is falling apart all of a sudden." "Raquel, hasn't your heart ever wavered? Do you really not care that someone else will raise your daughter? Why are you willing to sacrifice her for your brother?" "The family's hope lies only with me," Raquel said with pain in her voice. "Mom fell ill when she learned that Pablo would spend his whole life behind bars. I wanted to help, I was ready for anything and went to the judge. I begged at her feet, and then suddenly she offered me this strange deal, to give birth to a child for her in exchange for my brother's freedom. You understand, she has great power and very good connections. But it's your child, your flesh and blood. Do you really not care? My family is more important to me. I want them to be happy and finally understand that I'm a good daughter and sister, not some frivolous fool. And you decided to give birth? Yes, I talked to Mrs. Arias and started looking. Looking for what? Salvador didn't understand. Looking for a suitable partner to have a good offspring. You can hate me, Salvador, but I had no other way out. And now everything I've almost completed has turned to ashes. My brother will rot in prison, and my parents will still think of me as a frivolous fool. I failed again. The girl began to sob and sniffle. There was some rustling in the crib. Salvador pulled back the curtain. He was met by large, slightly cloudy green eyes, Raquel's eyes. They were captivating, like two large emeralds that are rarely found in nature. Esmeralda, Salvador whispered softly. My sweet little daughter. In a few days, the little one was already back home. Raquel wrote a refusal. She had no other way out. Despite her love for her relatives, the girl did not want to go behind bars. She still had a serious conversation ahead with Senora Arias. Well, your little one is sleeping, Blanca said as she entered the kitchen. Now you'll only need to feed her in about 3 hours. Thank you, Blanquita, thank you, the young father said gratefully. Oh, stop it, I'm a pediatrician, after all, Blanca smiled. It's my duty. I remembered. Suddenly exclaimed Salvador. What? What did you remember? I saw you. I saw you in a dream. You were walking along the seashore with a jasmine twig in your hand. I never thought you attached such importance to dreams. I've never had a dream like that before. But it was definitely you. Those chestnut hair and gray blue eyes, outlined lips. Salvador leaned his face towards hers. Their eyes met, and after a moment, the two merged into a long kiss. Marry me, girl from the sea, almost breathless, Salvador said and pulled out a ring from his pocket, the one he bought for Raquel. You're crazy, Salvador. Blanca took the ring. How beautiful. It's time. The young man exclaimed with childish excitement. When did you manage to buy it? Blanca wondered, admiring the ornament. That's not important, my angel. What matters is that I found you. Or maybe you found me. Salvador pulled Blanca closer to him again. So, will you be my wife? Yes, the girl simply answered. And a mother to Esmeralda. The pre-sunset autumn sun peeked through the window. It shone only for Salvador and Blanca. It said that happiness comes from unexpected places, and true love always knows for sure whose hearts to settle in. Dear viewers, if you enjoyed the story, please support the video by liking it and leaving a comment. Thank you very much.